All right, good morning. This is a site plan review committee meeting for January 8th, 2019. Committee members present today are Police Chief James Guido, City Assessor Dana Bangiaforti, Building Inspector Ben DeCristoforo, myself Frank Stringy, City Planner, Nick Rystrom, City Engineer, Erin Leary from Revere Fire Department, Joe Maglione from Revere Water and Sewer Division, and Mark Locke, Plumbing Inspector. We'll take up the first item is site plan for 50 Walnut Ave.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so new construction. I am representing T-Mobile. We have an existing cell phone installation on this rooftop right now. I have a couple extra sets of plans if anyone wants to look at them.
Take a second.
This is done in, there's two sets because it's two different projects, but we're hoping to construct them at the same time. I know
Same address?
Same address. It's the same. We're going to do construction at the same time. It's just a T-Mobile. It wouldn't make sense if we only had one set of plans because of the way it starts. But at the end of the day, the first project, T-Mobile is going to be swapping out 3 antennas for 3 new antennas and 3 remote radio heads for 3 remote radio heads and adding 3 lines, 3 DC fiber lines. And then the second project that will take place at the same time will consist of swapping out 3 more antennas for 3 more antennas. At the end of the day, there's no additional antennas, no additional remote radio heads, just 3 additional fiber lines.
Okay. All right, so this is a simple building permit, not necessary to go before the city council for a special permit because it's you're not adding the number of antennas, maintaining the same amount of antennas. So you could just apply online for a building permit.
Yep.
To the e-permitting process and upload everything, and we'll take it from there.
On that new process, I could just probably go ask Valerie, but do you pay when you file, or do you wait?
No, you don't
You
have
guys
to.
tell us
Yep.
what the fee's going to be at the end of the
Yep.
day.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Just put your actual construction, your contractual construction cost in.
Yes. The other question is, in the past, I would be the person that would file for the contractor, and he would bring an affidavit.
So you
guys
can
still
do that
use
as long as he attaches his builder's license, his
Okay,
state
yeah.
builder's license to the application. But you have to also include your electrical permits and no plumbing, just electrical.
So we'd file for the electrical permit at the same time?
Currently, correct, yeah.
Okay,
But the electrical permit will not be allowed until the building permit's approved.
okay. So I can just file using his contractor's license and his insurances and everything? I don't
You
need
can.
Okay, excellent.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Next site plan is for 29 Flint Street. Anybody here for 29 Flint Street? All right, site plan for 646 Ocean Avenue. You can bring up more chairs if you all want to sit around.
Good morning.
Morning.
How's everybody?
Good, how are you?
I'm just fine. My name is David Jackwitz. We've met before.
Yep.
We've met before. Thank you very much. Appreciate you having us here today to make a presentation. With me today is Mark Forlenza from the Belfonte Companies. You have to excuse me. I've got a hell of a cough. Also with me today is Alan James, the architect from Studio Architects. Tom Daly, one of the engineers from Malone McBroom. And behind me, we have Michael Gagnon, also one of the engineers. And his reputation precedes him, Alphonse D'Amico, the owner. We're here today to talk about this project before you, which, most importantly, we know is going to require some relief from the Board of Appeals, just in the form of a parking waiver, about 70 spaces plus or minus. But we wanted to come here today to give you an opportunity to see the project and for us to hear some feedback, to ask some questions early on in the process, so that after we come back from the Board of Appeals with what we hope is our variance, that we can tweak the project to come up in response to the comments we hear today, to give you the best project that we possibly can. So I just want to say how much we appreciate the staff's willingness to sit down with us previously and to be open to discussion, and it's been very helpful, it's been very welcoming to the project. We appreciate your effort, and we hope you like what you see here today. And ask any questions. If we don't have the information today, we'll be happy to supply it after the fact.
First and foremost, what we do is we do a zoning compliance review. So if you can have your architect make a presentation of what's being presented to the board.
Absolutely.
And number of units and, you know,
Absolutely.
the whole site plan.
I was going to turn it over to Mark just for a minute to give you a quick project overview.
Sure.
What's going to, in broad strokes, what you're going to see. The architect will then get into some details like on zoning, as you say, and then the engineers will talk for a moment, if that's okay.
Sure.
Fantastic. Mark?
Good evening, good morning, good evening.
Yeah.
My name is Mark Rolenza. I'm a partner in the development of this project out of Revere Beach. Just a quick background on myself. I've been developing and building and multifamily housing for 20, 30 years. It's all I've ever done at school. I ran out on day in New York and Connecticut for 15 years before doing this development on my own. Developed almost 10,000 design and development over my career. I'm trained as a planner. And I come with you is also a wealth of experience. Tom Daly and his associate have been working together also for 25 years. They're engineers in the Northeast with offices in 6 states. Our architect, in addition, I've been working for 25 years, and did an enormous amount of projects for me at Avalon and then afterwards. So this team has been together, you know, for decades. So it gives me some assurance that things actually get done right. I'm sure you've seen a lot of apartment complexes at this Revere Beach, so I won't bore you with all the details. But, as you probably heard before, we target a specific segment of the market. You know, people that can afford to buy homes, you know, choose to do so, choose to rent just for lifestyle consideration. Typically, the 3 segments of these apartments serve empty nesters, young professionals, and people in transition, you know, like myself for a while. This specific development, though, is targeting just one, in essence, one specific portion of these segments, and that's the young professional millennial segment. And you'll see within our design, you know, the mix, the size of the apartments, and then eventually the amenities. It'll be focused on specifically on that segment. So we're proposing today 209 apartment homes. 50% of them are studios, which is a big deviation from what you've seen, you know, on the beach to date. 30% are 1 bedrooms, 20% are 2 bedrooms. The average size of these apartments are less than 700 feet. So I would call this sort of a micro unit, because it's really not, but we're getting down in size to target that specific millennial segment. We're really excited about the exterior design. And in addition to the 209 units, you know, we have over 7,000 feet of amenity space. We've included, 2,000 feet of retail, 2,000 foot pad integral in the building, underneath the building, for a restaurant, and then a number inside passive recreation, outside recreation, including a pool. We're excited about the design itself, and I guess Alan will get into it. But as you can see, I'll just get over this. This is a rendering of the community. On the north side of the site, this building is 3 stories. You get this tiered look with views of the beach. Internally, there's 2 courtyards. An exterior courtyard and then a large 4,000-foot, recreation center that bridges in, that goes underneath the building into an interior courtyard. And Alan will show you that. I think the design itself is one of my favorites that I've done in 30 years. Just the way this apartment community is tiered, and the intermix between outside and inside, passive and active recreation. But Alan will get into the specifics of the courtyard when we page through the drawings. Just to reiterate what Dave said, we're here to get your feedback. Most importantly, we know that we have to go to the ZBA, so please give us any comments, any points you'd like us to look into, and next time we're here, we'll sort of address them. So,
Hi, Alan James again. Mark pretty much said everything I was going to say, so I'll kind of keep it brief, but I will walk you through it. One of the things when we started this, Mark actually had me break the building up. This originally was more of a solid mass. He wanted to open the center up for views, but also just so that it wasn't a solid wall of view. So I think that's
Move, Mark.
an important part of the design, and yeah, it's a great.
We would have
really
hit on that ourselves. That's glad you made fun of it.
So, when we approach these, we always look at what's around, what inspires us, and just some of the things, that we looked at.
before we go into this sort of visioning study, we look at the most important aspects of Revere. We look at the buildings we kind of like, and we try to take pieces of the pieces that we like from the other buildings and bring them into our building, so you don't get buildings of different scale and mass.
But in the context of a new design, so we're not copying things. We're really trying to create the flavor, but make it unique, which I think
Exactly what we're looking for.
we did do the sun angles, and these are pretty long, but that's winter solstice, so that's December 21st. Long shadows in the summer. Again, in the adjacent neighbors, it's fairly compatible with what's out at the beach already. So you can see here a little bit more how the pool over there's retail, parking garage entry. Let me site plan.
Is the retail on the street level?
Correct. So you can see plan and sort of sections. So the pool sits above these street retail areas, and we're not 100% sure, obviously, because these haven't been leased, whether this is going to be all restaurant or all retail. So there's some flexibility in the parking. Restaurant parking is one space per 4 seats, so we're sort of soft on that number, but the variance we're going to request is 70 spaces.
And what are the square footages separately?
It's about 4,000 in retail
Total,
that we've allowed for parking. So again, because we don't know what the use is going to be,
Yeah.
I did it more on a parking basis.
Yep.
And then.
So in other words, we knew how many spaces we needed, so we allocated 40 spaces for retail restaurant, and then we kind of backed into how much retail.
So that would allow us 80
Yep.
seats on a
Yep.
restaurant. So we're asking, and those would be parked per code, so we're asking for relief on the residential parking. And Tom can talk about it.
but total area for retail is 4,000 square feet. And however it's broken up is, yeah, okay, plus or minus.
And we know we'll have to stay within whatever variance we get, whether it's restaurant.
So you can see, in this section, how that is broken out. There's leasing and amenity on the street, the pool courtyard, and then how this steps down to break the mass up. Next page, I believe. We did locate the 2 adjacent buildings, and there's a, as you know, in the overlay, 0 setback up to 3 stories, and then 50-foot setback from the adjacent building. So we've accommodated that here, and there's another exhibit that shows it a little more clearly, but we've accommodated the 50 feet on either side, above 3 stories.
The last time we were here, we actually had the entrance to the
On this side. And we found out that the adjacent drive was too close to our property line, so we moved it to the center of the building, and actually we haven't yet updated the renderings to show that, but
It's still showing it on the side, but
Yeah.
it gives us access to the back.
it shows. So the 50, there's the 3 stories, and then we step back to 50 feet, and then this is, I believe, the 50-foot line, so there's our setback.
Where's your property line here?
Property line is here.
Okay.
So we're 5 foot off the property line, 3 stories, and then 50 feet from the face of the adjacent building.
Okay. Likewise, your property line is here.
Is this edge.
This
We
is your
always
drive.
allow sort of a 5-foot zone for footings, and just
Yeah.
to make sure we have enough room to add that in.
So your setback here, off that property line
Is
15? No,
20,
28.
28.
And within that
Because the building's
28,
skewed on that side.
yeah, within that 28 feet, you have a driveway, or?
No,
No,
there's a
they moved
service
it.
lane, so
So
what
the
we're.
service lane,
Okay, so what we've allowed for is we have our trash here, and this is just it's less than 150-foot service lane for move-in or trash trucks, so
But it
they.
takes the loading and unloading off.
What is this going to be, all landscape?
It probably is gonna be
Because the
paved.
fire
on
might
that.
want access in there, I don't want to speak for them, but
Right, that would be
did
paved,
Deputy Chief see this?
it would be paved to the end of this point, which is 150 feet.
Okay.
So the fire truck, obviously would need a turnaround beyond that, and then it would be a gravel service yard behind with, there might be meters and things in there. Yeah, so obviously it's 5 stories over 2 levels of parking. So kind of plan view, again, we saw that, there's one ramp up to the second level. These are both open, all open, so they're plus or minus 20 feet, 19 feet clear height, so you'll have a nice elevation, as we'll see in the storefront to activate that street. So on the podium level, pool, this is the fitness area that Mark was talking about, so this interior courtyard, this would basically flow through to this to let, obviously people move, but daylight and just to activate those spaces.
What's the elevation of your podium level?
It is, we haven't set it grading-wise, it's approximately 20 feet above the street.
Okay.
It's
So I
probably
think-
2 levels.
Yeah.
2 levels mark. Again, so in plan view, this is the actual facade of the adjacent building, 50 feet. We did have a question as to whether the 50-foot setback included balconies or just the facade of the actual building face,
Yeah, you can protrude 4 feet into the
4 feet.
side yard area.
So, and then the
The
same
balcony.
thing would apply here, where we've stepped back. I think it shows on the next. So what we've done on this side, let's see if I can pull back to this section. So once we get above 3 stories, what we've done is step back to these smaller studio units here to get our 50 feet, and then we would like to, if we could do a 4-foot balcony
Yeah.
projecting into that 50
Yeah.
feet, we would ask for that. I think the other thing that we would, to ask the question on the frontage, we're, 0 setback on the front. This side, we're really clear on the right-of-way, but we didn't know if we could get any encroachment on the right-of-way above 20 feet on the balcony. No. All right.
So it's just only-
So just moving up the building, next level, so on this would be rooftop terrace, just moving up. And that's the break in the building, so it really, you know, the front of these two buildings, so this is 3 stories and this is 5 stories.
So what we do, move these over here?
This is, they could do that, yeah.
And what about the?
That one, I believe, because of the curve in Ocean Avenue, those
On your-
are not in
right.
the right of way. This was where we were really tight right through here. So this one probably have to come around the corner, and this one as well.
So you're right up against one property line.
We're on, yeah, we are on probably a foot or less.
So is there a landscape?
Yeah, can you go back, the terrace on this side, above the 3 stories, what do you intend to use that space for?
They would just be they would be private
Balconies.
balcony for this unit, and then these would have a 4-foot.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
And obviously just, you know, shows the gap in the
Yeah.
building, so.
Can you quickly go back to your amenity areas? What are you providing for amenities inside the
As far as
building?
interior?
Yeah.
Mark, you might want to talk a little bit more about that, but essentially,
These renderings over here are suggested.
you know, the fitness club room, the normal kind of cafe.
Typically what we've been seeing.
Correct.
Specific targeting.
For that clientele,
specifically to, younger professionals. So that's kind of a rendering of sort of the interior courtyard.
Yes.
You know, and the clubhouse would be sort of the
So that's
clubhouse
this
recreation
courtyard,
center.
is this interior.
So we're looking at this courtyard here. Sorry, I'll take it from you. So this, you know, this courtyard is more passive recreation. I don't know if we're going to put the fountain there, but it's more of a passive recreation, flows through to this, this amenity area, which would have, you know, probably bigger than what you've seen, you know, club room, you know, fitness equipment, game room. We haven't really delineated the space yet, 100%, but that's sort of the intent. You know, you walk through these doors.
But it seems rather large.
It's
gonna
big.
be a good area, yeah.
It's a generous
Yeah.
space. and
Yeah.
it's- It really is meant to be, will be designed to sort of flow through
Yep.
so that that space is, really feels like
Yeah.
one large
Yeah.
space.
And then you flow through to the back to the pool area, which, you know, which has,
Yeah.
which has the views to,
So that's, you understand, the bar has been set pretty high with these other developers as they come in terms of amenity space, and that's where you set yourself apart.
people's getting.
And that's where people are looking at, is the amenity space when they make the decisions on which buildings to go into, so.
And we'll have,
It's an
we'll have
important
light
feature.
repair, you know, in there
Yeah.
because it, because it caters more to the young professionals and that kind of.
And we included a lot of bicycle parking in the deck as well. Every nook and cranny in the deck has bike parking in it.
And within the apartments themselves, there'll be the ability to hang their bikes if they're not outside. That's the kind of sort of small detail that we'll target to, you know, that specific segment.
So material-wise, you know, metal accent, cementitious panels, either channeled or you know, board batten type panels, brick, welded mesh wire railings. These colors don't necessarily represent the colors of the material, but it's more just these are the types of materials that we propose using.
Okay, so one more zoning question. Where are you at with your FAR?
We are about, I think we're allowed 216,000 based on the site, and we're.
3.6, yeah.
We're in the 140 range.
Oh, so you're well under the,
Well under.
It wasn't that we wouldn't want to build more, it would be constrained with the parking.
yeah.
Is the parking the only relief you're seeking?
Yes.
If you were able to change the side yard setbacks, would you be able to add more parking?
No.
We're really, because of the way that the ordinance is written, it's under 3 stories, we can go to 0, 25 feet on, so we don't get any real relief.
We
We're
scheme
pushing the parking.
this every which way
Yeah.
we're trying to, the thing with the parking, we did do a study of the Vanguard, because we know those folks over there. And we did do a physical count on Sunday night at midnight. One of Tom's guys went out to the county. And what you see in the memo is sort of utilization based upon, a mix and how many spaces is actually utilized. Now, we realized that building, because we know the management company there, is only 82% occupied, so we adjusted for that. They don't have really any studios, they just have more ones and twos. Again, we're really weighted to the studios, 50%. And the code as it's written right now doesn't differentiate between studios and one bedrooms with respect to parking. So that's the first big difference. Second, we did count the spaces, and based upon their utilization rate, we think we're overparked. Based upon their utilization.
That's not a true picture,
Okay, tell me what.
because they're charging for the parking spaces and the people are parking out on Ocean Ave.
And we'll
So if there was no parking in Ocean Ave, all those cars would be in the building.
okay.
That's my next question. Is the parking included in the rent?
Yes.
That will be a requirement of our
Of site
conditions.
We've discussed this.
Yeah,
Okay.
part of the lease.
We
Can only sell for how many parking
we'll-
spaces they
We'll
have.
verify those figures, because again, we know the management company there, we could see whether they're parking inside or out.
So let me ask this question, because I'm the guy, the naysayer in parking. Is there enough parking for the residents?
Why don't you give us those breakdowns, number of units and parking?
Because
Let's-
the retail at
let's-
nighttime, the restaurant, the parking garage would probably have room. But I'm worried about, does every resident have a place to park?
Let's go on let's do the unit count and the parking count relative to the residential portions.
Tom, you did.
This is the,
So, Tom Daly for the record, and included in the submission package, we did include this memo. So, under this current mix, we have 168 studio and one bedrooms and 41 two bedroom. So 209 units.
Tom, just want to give the breakout of the studios and one
Yeah.
bedrooms, just give them individually.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have, on the title sheet, so for the studios, we're required to have 132.5 parking spaces.
sorry, 106 studios,
We have 106 studios, and we have how many one bedrooms?
62 one bedrooms.
62 one bedrooms.
So for the residential, we need 210 parking spaces. Okay? We are providing, and then if you add in 40 for
Retail.
retail, so, I'm sorry, it's what's required is 272 spaces.
What's the total spaces you have
242.
proposed?
242 on site.
Well, you have,
242.
And
you have
210 for the
313
residents?
required on the plan.
Correct.
So, okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
And then, because we don't know what the retail space is going to be, we allowed either by seat or.
Yeah.
Right.
So there is some overage in that. And I think I agree that shared parking at night would.
But you have 210 spaces
Correct.
and 209 units.
Correct.
No, 242.
242.
Minus the
Minus
retail, minus the retail.
Correct.
Yeah, let's take the retail out.
So basically they have one-to-one, Jimmy.
That's
One
what,
unit.
so the residential meets the
1.07.
parking requirements if there was no retail.
No.
No, it does
No,
not.
because the way the code is set up, the studios require 1.25,
Right.
and based upon our study, which you're saying here, we gotta look
I'm
at.
asking what
But
else
based
is
upon
there.
other studies that we've done around the train station, TODs, the studios don't there's a lot of folks that share parking, share rides, get on the T, so the studios don't actually generate one-to-one, they generate less than one-to-one. So what we're saying is, we have 50% studios, we have, in our past experience, it's less than one-to-one on the studios, and that's where we're coming up with the variance aside from.
Now, did you look at, in that district, we do allow for tandem parking spaces, where you could have two
We couldn't-
tandem, you looked at that, you
tried to
couldn't
force any
fit
of
in.
those,
Can I see this for a minute, please?
We just couldn't,
Question.
just could not.
I figured you would, yeah.
The numbers come up, pure residential, 272 spaces under the code without variance.
It's
We have
required.
242.
Right.
So we need 30
Right, that's what I'm
just for
asking.
the residential.
Exactly.
30 for the residential. not including any retail.
Yeah, but I thought-
Zero for retail.
But you have 242 total?
Total.
Total. You back out the 40, you have 210 just delegated to residential. Is that right?
242 minus 4 is 202.
But they need 273 for the residential,
That's right.
And we have
without
240.
waiving anything.
Right,
That's-
so that's
on the
where they
residential,
come out
we
with the
need 30.
70
And what we're
spaces.
saying is 50% of these apartment
Right.
homes
Right.
are studios. You know, in our experience, studios don't studios generate less than month to month.
And what about the visitors?
That comes in with, we do have visitor spaces, you know, designated, but that usually comes into the whole calculation, you count these spaces.
Does, yeah.
It's sort of part of the one, it's sort of
It
part
is.
of the ratio.
It is. It's part of the parking ratio requirement.
When it's set. We'll have to give Mr. Chief a little bit more next time.
Well, my concern is the city already relaxed the parking for that area, and now we're relaxing it some more. And as these buildings keep going up, there's definitely not enough parking. And I don't want to throw water on the project, because I think it's beautiful. But when all these buildings are open, and then we don't control the DCR road, Ocean Ave. So, I don't know, maybe it's time we start exploring, make the whole beachside Ocean Ave angle parking, the whole thing, Frank. So that these projects can go forward and people can have a place to park.
Yeah.
At least for the retail.
Well, let's
Go
do
in,
it.
park, go in the restaurant. I'm just worried about the residents when they come home, they have a parking space,
So are we.
not the retail.
So, I mean,
There's the, you can do valet, there's the parking garage. The beach at night has more parking available than in the day.
let us do a little more research on it before we
Okay.
come back. Just
And
just
I'd
so-
like to, when you're doing your research, find out what the capacity of the parking garage has been up to now, daytime and nighttime.
Talking
I
about
was gonna
Wonderland?
ask for that,
Wonderland?
yeah.
Wonderland
The
garage.
Wonderland
The
garage.
public parking.
Okay, you got it.
Because that would, if it's not at capacity, that will help your cause.
Okay.
My guess is at night it's not.
No, I don't think it is at night, but,
Yeah, right.
so,
Okay.
that can be the overflow.
You got
All right.
4 or 5 projects going there, it's gonna start getting close to capacity.
Thank you.
I think that.
Correct.
That's good. Now, can we
To be
move
honest, we don't
on?
want to build something that's, frankly, parking's the biggest amenity, other than the pool.
Right.
People
Right.
can't park their car.
Right.
It
They're
makes
not
no
gonna
sense
rent,
to
right.
build it there. So we'll make sure that,
Right.
we'll make sure that we have enough parking.
Let's move on to engineering, utilities.
Thank you.
One more question to the architect. So you're in the 100-year floodplain, the base flood elevation is 12. Your grade there is probably around 7 or even 6 at Ocean Avenue.
So puts our podium at 27-ish.
So your first floor of your retail
Retail is at grade, so.
is that grade, so it has to be floodproof then.
Well, where's that relative to the base flood elevation?
Yeah, they're about 6 feet.
They're into it.
Yeah. So, and we desperately want to see the retail and restaurant space down there, but how we get around the floodplain guidelines, floodplain construction, is that space has to be floodproofed.
The problem comes in with the windows, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're looking into some sort of mechanic, if there's a storm surge, we're looking into some, not mechanical, but some battens that you actually can physically drop in and waterproof in a storm surge, just to get the retail there. They're really expensive, but to protect the window,
Yeah.
to protect the space between the window, it's like $10,000. But we're looking,
It's
we've done this
costly.
in another project in Westchester County, and we're probably going to
Really?
use a similar,
Good.
which was in the floodplain. That'll help activate the street with.
And I think the retail's an excellent component. I wish all the buildings had it done.
Well, it's the flood- it's the
If that's
flood.
the only obstacle is the flood, I mean, I'm sure that they would love to do it, but.
Well, we'll have a cut on that system, and it mechanically has to be put in, but it does flood-proof, the storm surge. Then we'll have to make the walls, a separate issue, but this is just to protect the windows, because that's where most of the flood comes into the buildings.
And it's, it's probably minor, but moving the entry to the middle of the building allows some pass-through. Obviously, that's a choke point, but at least there is some ability for water to pass.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as that construction satisfies FEMA's guidelines for floodproofing, then the building department should be on board.
Okay.
All right.
Well, as you all know, this site's 90% building, not much to site work. But we've done some good coordination with the engineers on the adjacent properties, so we're well versed in terms of how they're dealing with stormwater, and those things, they're very helpful on that. But in terms of streetscape, we'll be mimicking the other projects to make it feel like a seamless streetscape along as a architectural is different, right? But basically, as you pass down along the streetscape, it's a cohesive project. So we have incorporated, the elements here. These are raised planters with a granite curb, bringing in some. We do have on-street parking for 3 parking spaces here. But the real challenge on this project is we had 2 projects on our sides that really dictated what we were doing. And they both flanked, as Alan indicated, they flanked their driveways at their perimeter. And our traffic engineers were concerned about this conflict of cars on that. So working with Alan, we moved the driveway to the middle to create a separation distance between their 2 primary driveways. This is more of a secondary or a service driveway, but if we were having, our initial concept had driveways here, you would have had conflicts with people coming in, out, and turning there. So I think it's a better design. So we moved this to a nice, and actually it drives right into, if you look at the parking layout, it's really clean, comes right in. In terms of, we are adding, we're trying, this is their service yard over here. So we're trying to add some buffer plantings here to kind of screen that kind of back of house part of their project. Over in this area, we're looking at lawn, and then also probably similar, they have a kind of gravel service area for transformers and those type of things. They would be located here, which would be adjacent to their driveway. That's generally about the site plan. With that, Mike's going to speak briefly about the stormwater and then some permitting.
Are you bumping out the existing curb here?
We matched the same curb line as the 2 adjacents, which I think they did. Yes, they did bring out that curb line. I believe this is kind of generally where the curb line today, and it did bring it out.
Yeah, I think that's necessary to create a plaza feel and create these.
Otherwise, it's
these
just a
landscaping
sidewalk, right?
planters in there,
Yeah.
to give it some.
So we were
breakout.
able to get this plan and this plan. The other engineer was able to share the as-built here in the design plans, but you can see, it looks like they bumped. Yeah, you're right, because there's the painted crosswalk, and they pulled out in front of it. This is actually, that's 10 feet just there. So in here, you're probably getting 15, 20 feet of sidewalk.
We like that.
Yeah.
DCR has to approve it'll be part of your curb cut permit with DCR and
Okay.
street opening permit.
And we are
Look at all that.
And we are proposing, I noticed on this project, they had building-mounted fire department connections, and we'll be mimicking that approach if that's what's
All
desirable.
right, you should just meet with
Yeah.
Deputy Chief.
That's a detail that I'm sure we have enough facade there, and there's a hydrant right on that that corner that we're gonna have to readjust. Right now, I think it's out here, we're gonna have to bring it into the new curb.
We have another hydrant.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, you're right, you actually have 2 hydrants
Yeah.
in the frontage. So we have good access there in terms of hydrants. Mike, you want to speak about that one?
Good morning. For the record, Mike Gagnon, along in McBroom. So what I'd like to do is just kind of give you an overview of the stormwater management for the project. Under existing conditions, it's currently essentially a parking lot. So we approach this project relative to stormwater management as a redevelopment project, which is allowable in the Mass DEP stormwater management guidelines. But that being said, we obviously need to address all 10 standards of the stormwater management standards. So how we accomplish that is, first and foremost, peak flow attenuation, essentially a reduction of the runoff from the site. We were able to accomplish that through the use of a subsurface detention system, which is going to be located over in this area here. And really, that system is going to be a twofold purpose, not only for peak flow reduction, but in order to meet standard 3 of the stormwater management guidelines, we need to infiltrate a certain amount of water for groundwater recharge based on for a redevelopment project. So that we were able to accomplish that through the leaching galleries here. Lastly would be stormwater quality, very important on these projects. We do have a stormwater treatment manhole that is proposed prior to on-site stormwater entering the system, particularly within any of the paved areas around the perimeter of the project that, that may have contaminants such as sediment and the other debris that's associated with paved runoff. Obviously, the water from the rooftop area is going to be clean, but that will be passed through the infiltration system as well as clean water. And we were able to take some of the credit from the roof water in order to get the infiltration that we need. Lastly, we will be going before your Conservation Commission. We will be filing a notice of intent for the project, recognizing, as we had previously discussed, is we are within the FEMA coastal zone. So we're going to have to meet the performance standards in that regard. So we will be filing a notice of intent for that very shortly.
Did you
That's
calculate
basically an overview.
Did
Yes.
you calculate your stormwater runoff in terms of what area you have for these infiltration chambers? Do you have
Yes.
enough room to support that?
Yes, we've actually provided a stormwater management report that was included with a submission that actually provides a breakdown of those flows into the system, as well as the storage capacity of those units as well.
What's your design standard?
10-year.
So the city-
And then basically right, basically through the full spectrum, we were actually able to reduce peak flow, I believe, for the 25-year storm as well.
So we'll be looking for a full stormwater management analysis,
Mhm.
which will show your peak flow and the associated volumes with each of the storms,
Mhm.
the 25-year being the design storm.
Okay.
We'll be looking also though for the 50 and 100 to be included in that.
Yep.
For information purposes.
Okay.
And then also any of your design, your drainage design, sizing.
The hydraulic calculations. Right.
No, I assuming that you're not at that point yet.
Right.
But something
To support the pipe sizing around the perimeter of the project, yes. Yep.
okay. And all that, do you have, so you have the infiltration, is there are you expecting to infiltrate all of the runoff, or do you have an overflow of some type, or what's?
We actually have an overflow that's provided here. So the intent is obviously we can't infiltrate or we can't accommodate all of that. So there is a degree, there is a bypass that's being provided to the current system.
Okay. And where does that tie in the back?
Right here, adjacent to the Mass Transit Authority right away. It's right here.
What, do we have there, manhole? or-
Yeah, there's a manhole there.
There's an existing catch basin out there today. And we're converting that manhole and utilizing the same discharge pipe that exists.
And that's just Chad in the north?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Which
and
is
that's-
Same drain system, the two adjacent properties connected to, and that engineer, we were able to coordinate to make sure we're aligned with them on how they were dealing with stormwater also.
And that's all detailed, or certainly will be detailed in the stormwater management report. as well. Right. Yep.
I want to hear from Joe, because the DPW is going to need access to the back. They have to maintain that line in the future. What are you providing for easements to get back there?
Are you're talking maintenance easements?
Yeah, that's tied into we have a 24-inch drain, I think, in the back.
Along,
It goes out.
along the right of way, yep.
Yeah. And,
Well, we
DPW is,
yeah,
needs to get back there,
potentially an easement.
access those manholes.
Could be direct. I think we can show better on our plans, but I believe this pipe comes here, and I think there is a manhole here too. This,
Don't they have access from
Yeah.
the other buildings?
yeah, they have, I think actually,
To be
we let
able to
them go.
drive back here?
I don't know, I'll have to
We have to
refer
look
to
at
Joe.
that, but we don't need every building, we just need some way for them to get behind all of it.
Access to get to the back of the buildings with a back of the truck, a jet truck.
An excavator, if you need to, fix whatever.
Everything has to be repaired back.
Do you have any guidance based upon what easements the other two developments have offered that we can piggyback on?
Basically, go back and get some measurements exactly what out there for the other two buildings. I know the problem's gonna be, this particular is where the train right away is on our close, coming up to that fence with MBTA extended there on tracks. How close are the proximity of that?
Well, I think that I'll have to check, but I don't think that common pipe actually is actually on our property. We're tying into a catch basin that already connects to the property.
Just right here.
So if we do give you an easement, it still doesn't give you a right to get to the property. We'll have to
We
check.
have a situation there now where I believe it's going on some sort of an angle, it's going underneath where the.
Correct.
Side of the-
Correct.
Their extension, they're just going to do what they want. It's going to be something to be addressed with the whole close.
Okay, we can do that.
I believe there is an easement I noticed on the survey that I got on the adjacent property specifically.
Yeah. The earlier we address that, the better. We don't want this to come out where it's like we had later on, where DPW has an issue, they can't get there.
So Frank, let me just ask the question, if they have access to behind all these buildings, even if it's through another building, is that adequate? Versus having all these little roads beside every building?
The problem is, if we have to get in there and actually do work on it.
Right, I understand, but let's say this building's here, and you drove over here and went behind it. That's all, isn't there a road behind, once you get behind there and all these
No,
buildings?
they're right up, what's your setback?
Right, that's what I'm asking.
What is your setback from the building to?
The closest is 5 feet and it varies.
See, it's tight.
More than double that.
Only 5 feet's not gonna be, if it's 5 feet between like the fence and the building,
Oh, I
you
see,
can't get it.
behind it.
We'll have to look at it.
It's something that you have to look at when you're putting together your, utility plans, it's something that needs to be considered.
I believe we received copies of the plans, the storm drain plan, showing how exactly what we're looking at.
Yeah, we'll have to look,
Yeah,
sit
see,
down, take a
It
detailed look
may
at
have to
that.
be a cooperative approach between all the, properties.
Yeah.
At some point, yeah, it comes over here and then it crosses, right? So, yes, somewhere.
Very good. What about, water?
Water, have you done a hydrant flow test here yet?
We are in contact with the water company and trying to secure that.
Okay.
Are you aware of the water line that runs through this property?
Excuse me?
Are you aware of the city water line that runs through this property?
Through the property itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How big a line is it there?
Yeah.
So you'll have to relocate it.
So that's something that you'll have to, so we're gonna put a building in, you're gonna talk about relocating around the building. And that also has to be accessible for the city to maintain in the future.
Nick, do you have a map of that that I can get a copy of?
Yeah, if you, outside of this meeting, if you want to talk to me,
Because the surveyor didn't pick up any easements for that water.
I think that we do have, like, I'll have to look at it.
Is it active now?
Yes.
Yeah, it services.
I think it
All
is.
the side.
Goes across the
Tracks.
river and,
That neighborhood.
not sure.
Not sure what,
down Ocean Ave?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a 10-inch on Ocean Avenue, and this comes off of that, services the other side of the tracks.
Okay, so then what about the sewer, your sanitary services? Well, actually, let me back up, so your water services, they're coming off Ocean Ave, is that right? You have domestic and fire?
Correct.
Okay. We're gonna be looking for our standard, four-gate assembly, which is one on each side of that, those two, and then one on each of the services.
So 2 gate valves on the main,
Correct.
and then one
And then
on each of the service company.
You just have one connection for the water?
You know, the mechanical engineers aren't on board right now. I mean, that would be generally what my assumption would be, and then we would have some type of, working with the fire department, you know, fire department connection somewhere nearby on the face of the building as it's done. But at this point, traditionally, we see one unless there's some, the only thing is, do we, Mark, would you ever consider the retail being metered separately? So there might be, but potentially, once we get the mechanical on board, we'll coordinate with you on that.
We can still separate it in the building.
Oh, okay.
We won't necessarily need to separate it.
Okay.
Yes. And that'll be, okay. And then, your sanitary, one connection for the sanitary coming out to Ocean Ave as well?
That would be potentially, now, if we have a restaurant and we have to have a grease trap, then we have,
You have to make provisions for that.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what your requirements, can that be an in-sync unit or can that be exterior? So it's not a lot of space there to start combining these. So from a restaurant, there's two things we're doing. One, where we come out, we hit the grease trap, and we come all the way along the sidewalk and tie there.
Yeah.
It may make sense, if it is a restaurant, that we just have a separate connection through the grease trap for just, without having this lateral running underneath the sidewalk. That's hard to maintain.
Right.
That depends.
Okay.
And we may want to do is put the grease trap in while we're putting the sidewalk in to offer the developer the opportunity to do that. So, once again, the mechanical engineer will help us work that, but it could be one, it could be two.
You'll have your interior parking will also run through that service?
Correct, and you go through an oil water separator
Okay.
before it goes there, but that's our approach, that it would go to sanitary sewer.
And the details of that would be in your submission, your submittal, later.
Construction level, sure, absolutely. Yep.
So there's a couple other things you may be aware of. The NISA mitigation fees for more sewer system mitigation fee for I removal. It's a formula based on number of bedrooms, 110 gallons per bedroom, times 10, times $1.30 per gallon. I just did a rough calculation. You have a total of 252 bedrooms, and that would come out to $360,000 roughly for that. Also, anytime a variance or special permit is required, we have a community improvement trust fund that kicks in, and that's 3% of the construction cost of that portion of the building that is built above and beyond what is allowed as a right. So in this instance, since you'll be short, whatever the parking spaces you'll be short, we have to calculate the number of units that are going up above and beyond what is allowed as a right, and 3% of the construction cost of those units.
We back into it with the parking.
Yes. So whatever benefit we get with density.
Could always reduce the units.
It's not that much.
Fortunately, they're small units, so 3% of the cost.
We back it out,
He's 10
two
grand.
bedrooms.
So essentially, it would be 70 divided by 1.5, 47 units,
47 units.
something like that,
Yeah.
times whatever the value of that construction, in a rough term. Okay. And what was the, 3%?
3%.
Construction value?
Yeah. Fees keep going up, we're gonna talk to you.
Well, you could ask for variance.
I'm not gonna
Fees go up. Nothing for nothing.
Frank, was there any discussion about crosswalks coming out of the building, crossing over Ocean Avenue?
Not yet. They do, that's something they'll work out with DCR, because they have three actual bump outs. And there's an existing crosswalk right in front of the building. That'll probably be maintained with a curb ramp on both sides to maintain that crosswalk. So essentially, almost every building will have a crosswalk along Ocean Avenue. So take a look at that when you file for your permits with DCR and show who your proposed crosswalks are and curb ramps on both sides.
Frank, as far as traffic flow, I know we've had a problem in front of 500 with the width of the roadway.
Just a place for
Working with DCR now to widen that
yeah.
traffic plan that they had put together. I just want to make sure that the roadway's wide enough in both directions and that it's properly marked.
Yeah, that's
Signalized.
what we're going to be looking at, is continue on the existing layout plan that DCI has approved for the other buildings. So we have continuity of the roadway width and travel lane width. That's something that DCI will
And I know we're in the
certainly take
process
that
of
one.
changing it right now, DCI has it.
Yeah. We do.
So you're decreasing sidewalk widths?
No, they're just relining the roadway,
Oh,
you know, where the pedestrian walkway is. You know, widening that about 3 feet, so the southbound traffic doesn't have to cross over into the other lane.
We filed for Mass Works application to do Ocean Avenue over, sidewalks and roadway.
The full length?
No, from Revere Street to Shirley Avenue. That wasn't approved this round, so we're going to probably come
We
in.
get time.
so David, one other thing, just so you know, this is subject to chapter 40, a 54A letter.
Yeah,
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 I'm
we-
sure you're on that.
because we're pertinent to the railroad tracks.
Correct,
so,
yeah.
Has EOTC been,
So you have to actually notify them.
but have
Give me
they-
the information and we can, and I'll I'll submit the letter to the DOT.
Okay, fine.
Okay, just, I think you have my email, but let me give it to you. Email me the owner's information, the unit count. It might be the right thing to do this now. I don't know if the unit count's gonna change. It may not really make a difference to DOT, but we may wanna get a letter in there.
Yeah, we'll do.
It'll
We'll
probably
take-
take maybe 30, 60 days to
Yeah,
to
no
get
problem.
the approval.
No problem.
and public
Typically,
hearing.
I've done the submission, or you want to do the submission?
Yeah, so I'll write the letter, I'll hand it to you,
Oh.
and you can actually submit it.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fine,
yeah,
okay, great.
yeah.
Your letter is a letter of no objection.
Correct.
Do you mind if we collect all your cards in case we follow up with some of these comments? I have the chief's cards.
Just put the cameras in there, the site plan lab.
Yeah, we were just talking over
Yeah,
here.
that's
Mark,
a stand, that's an
I
automatic.
have the chief's.
I know, we were just talking over here about cameras.
Yeah, that's
You know about this, yeah.
I'll distribute.
when you guys look at the snap.
Do you have a timeline as far as, obviously a lot of variables, but
Probably in the summer.
summer?
Probably in the summer. Or summer. Well, thank you. I mean, if that was it, this
No, this
actually
was
been very
helpful,
helpful,
man.
actually, where we
It's a
can.
beautiful building.
Yeah, we progressed quite a way.
Thank you. If you like to talk,
Oh, I think it's a nice touch.
we got a fan of the fountain over there.
He's Italian.
not-
We like the fountains.
It'd be nice if we just need to get it bigger, right?
So, obviously, we have to issue a denial letter for this project. If this has been uploaded on e-permitting, that, whoever email address is on there, that's where the letter will be sent to. So look for that, once you have that letter for parking relief variance request, take that to the ZBA, to the city clerk.
In between work on the relocation and
Work with the city engineer and the fire department on
the access, the main things are the relocation, access, and the park. The other stuff is, it's missing that.
Yes, they will be back with us,
As soon as possible.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Frank, I think you have this, but there you go.
Yeah, thanks, David. Okay, that'll conclude our meeting for January 9th.